Hey everybody, Editing Jeremy here. I just wanted to let you know that in this video I accidentally conflate the word voice with the word oscillator a lot of the time. And I'm going to dub the word voice in when I actually mean voice. It's going to sound a little weird, but I'll try to make it fun. Basically, the Vector has 4 voices, and each voice has 4 oscillators. It's like an FM synth, a 4-op FM synth with 4 voices. And that is the truth. So it's going to sound a little strange, but at least it won't confuse you. All right, say hi to Echo. Hi, Echo. There she is. Good girl. Okay, on with the video. It's pretty cool. Hi, my name is Jeremy. This is Red Means Recording. And today I'm doing a video on something I've been putting off for a really long time. And that is a video on the RYK Vector. Obviously, really cool looking Eurorack module that does vector synthesis and FM synthesis. The reason I've been putting it off is because this is one of those modules that is part of a ever increasing sort of group of modules that has an incredible amount going on under the hood. It almost feels like it should have been like a desktop synth and maybe not a module. Like if it was the size of this whole thing right here, this whole pod, and had more controls on it, I think it would be a little easier to jump into. It's been sitting in my rack next to all these other modules that have pretty much one knob per function. And in that respect, I haven't reached for it as much as I have other ones that are more immediate, even for complex sounds. And this thing is so deep and so cool sounding once you actually dive into it that it's a shame I haven't really given it the time. So that's what we're doing today. I am going to sit down with this thing. We're going to go through what it does. I'm going to show you its workflow, and we're going to listen to it because the proof of the pudding is in the sound, I believe. I have this hooked up via MIDI to my computer. It does accept MIDI CCs, which is great. You could use this as a little MIDI sound module if you wanted to. And that's what we're doing today. And then I have it running into the Zoya Euroburrow for some effects. You're hearing a quad loop delay right now, which I'll switch between those now and then. And then out into the computer, I do have it running into Ableton, so if I want to add a beat later, I can. That's why the launch pad's here. So what is this? Well, it is a 4-voice vector and FM synthesis module. You can see we got this awesome scope on this thing. And there's different scope modes too, which is really, really neat. Let's just start going through the panel functions. So the first thing we want to do is hit this gray button, which will take us into the menu. And here we can change a bunch of things. I can load presets. I have, let's see how many, 30 preset slots for full presets. You can actually save oscillator presets as well. Let's just start from scratch. I will load 13. So what else can we do in this menu? We can save, we can load. This is the mode. So VEC1 is vector mode 1. VC2 is vector mode 2. These are both monophonic. There's a poly mode, which pulls all of the information from A in terms of the tonality. The other ones pull it from this 4-channel sort of little joystick here. So A, B, and C, D. You can change the settings for all 4 of those voices independently, and then you can vector through them. Okay, what other modes are there? Poly, which this will no longer work, and all of the tonality comes from A only. And then I think the last one, molt, means that each of the voices can be addressed independently with this, what would we call this? A expander. So you can see volt per octave and gate. I don't have to worry about that because I am working with MIDI. On the front panel, we have a stereo out. We have a volt per octave gate and 4 modulator inputs that you can put CV modulation in. It has 2 internal envelopes. Let's see. So to get to those, you hit the envelope LFO button. And then if you mess with the bottom thing, you get an LFO, and you can change the settings here. So for instance, this is, I actually don't know what that's doing. This is changing what might affect the retrigger speed of the LFO. And then this is the shape of the LFO. And then this is the speed of the LFO internally. So we have 2 LFOs. To get to the second one, I'm going to hit this again, and then I will have the same controls. Now, that was all the bottom knobs, right? If I turn the top knobs, I get envelope, and I have 2 envelopes. I have envelope 1. I go back into this mode, go to poly. You can hear that now we have sort of a pad, which is quite nice. We have a mod matrix. How many slots do we get? We get 6 slots. Within the slot here, I can assign a source. So mod 1 through 4, LFO1, LFO2, joy X, joy Y, envelope 1, envelope 2, CV, and then some other ones, including control change numbers here, which is pretty great. So that's how you would assign MIDI to affect the parameters in here. Then we have which ones of these voices it's affecting. So you can see right now it's set to A through D. Here we change that right there. And here we can say where the destination is. So you can have each one of the voices independently. The vector, LFO1, LFO2, envelope, joystick. So we have 6 slots like that that can be assigned to things. And then over here, we have a bunch of destinations. Now, this is one of the things that I think is a little bit sort of, I don't know, antagonistic about the module, or rather it's just like, it's dense. It's hard to really just understand what these mean outside of amplitude modulation, frequency modulation, oscillator cross modulation, waveform warp, harmonic shift of modulators, oscillators, which is HM, DT, which is a detune spread amount, FD, which is a wave folding, classic wave folding for harmonic complex generation, BF for harmonic bandpass filtering, LF for low pass filter. So there is a low pass filter built into this, which is kind of neat. This right here is the offset. This is the offset for the parameter. So you can offset the modulation right in the mod thing here. So that's the controls. Yeah. As you can see, it is dense. It's bristling with stuff underneath. And I think that RYK has done a pretty admirable job of making it flow pretty well. But again, it's just like, it can get really, really kind of, you can get lost in it in terms of like, what does this acronym mean that I'm looking at right now? Like, I forgot. However, obviously, if you spend a bunch of time with it and make it a centerpiece of your world, of your rack, or like make it like really kind of like something you focus on a lot, it's going to give you an immense amount of synthesis in your Eurorack system. All right, let's go into the actual oscillators themselves. There's a couple ways that you can edit these things. You'll see that if I hold down this button here, I can switch back and forth between a couple different views. When I'm in this view, this is the regular oscillator view. I can switch between these 4, and what you're hearing, those harmonics there, are the harmonic order series right here that you see between each one. So if I turn the knobs on the bottom, I change the balance of the 4 operators per, I guess, voice. Maybe call it a voice. So here's the FM part, right? So I just turned all 4 of those up. If we go back to here, what was I on? Oh, I have to vector back. I have to joystick back. There it is. So you can hear immediately that we get that sort of classic glassy sort of FM sound. If I go down lower or change, I can get really kind of interesting relationships there. So I have 4 of those that I can play with. If I hold this down for a smidge, I'll get into sort of this sub page for this stuff, meaning that there's more options here. And this is where things get really interesting. So here I can copy things back and forth between these 4 voices. I can also load and save just the settings for one voice in case I wanted to load it into a new preset. So there's like voice settings and then there's preset settings. And then I'm going to initialize all of these. Here's where it gets fun. I'm going to randomize all of them. I love that so much. I think that sounds really cool. So we can actually randomize a bunch of different things here. So what else do we have? All, and then we can say, we can do odd all, which I believe is just harmonics, or all, or randomize all. What else do we got? Cluster all. It's going to get really weird. This thing is like a really good at creating like apocalyptic drones, basically. I'm going to go ahead and initialize this again. Great. So now we're back to a pretty basic sound. If I go into this right here, hit the gray button, I switch between like what we were just looking at, which is all the settings, and this sort of simple adjustment mode. And here I can do those things that we did earlier. Oscillator cross mod. This is waveform warp. This is wavefolding. And then this is DT, which is the detune spread. We'll go ahead and just increase the hell out of that. All of this pulls in poly mode from A. So we'll go ahead in here and switch this to poly. And I can now play like a polyphonic synth from this if I wanted to. Ooh, let's modulate that. That is WP. So we'll go to mod. I will pick LFO1 and I will go A through D. That's fine. And then WP. That's so fucking weird. So in this mode right here, we have 4 oscillators. And what's going to happen is as I press these buttons, it's going to change their relationship in terms of how they work together. And you can come in here and be all kinds of weird if you want. So in FM synthesis, you have carriers, which are usually the thing that go out to the output. And you have modulators, which are usually the audio rate signal, another oscillator that goes into the carrier to create a richer timbre from its original wave shape. The way that if you have more than 2 operators or ops, then what you have is like a operator synth that says, well, I'm this many operators. So for instance, FM8 is 8 operators. DX7, I think is 6. Ableton's operator is 4 ops. I find 4 to be a really great operator number. And that's what we have here. So I can come in here and I can change the relationship between the oscillators here. For each side. Like I can make an FM patch. It's truly insane. I need an editor for this. I need like a software editor for this, honestly. If you end up creating a patch that doesn't have the oscillators turned up, you will not hear it. So I need to go into the settings for this oscillator here, this oscillator bank, and I need to make sure that I have my other ones turned up. And then once we had done that, we'll start to hear the relationships that FM synthesis usually has. So let's do that real quick. I can also fine tune these. We'll get back into that in just a second. Okay, so now you can hear that the sound has changed because now we're sending the oscillators that are part of this bank together into each other as opposed to just all out to the output. So let's go and play with some values here. You can hear that the timbre will change as I turn the volume for these up and down. And then if I fine tune them, I can get really weird. We'll just keep that one fine-tuned. In FM synthesis, your operators and your carriers' ratios, or the way they're tuned from each other, will create consonant or dissonant timbres, which is one of the really, really interesting things about it. You can actually hear the ratios of these notes relate to each other in a sort of timbral sense in the way that they would in a chord or a kind of like a cluster of notes, meaning that like fine-tuning things would sound dissonant if you had all of these things going out to the ear without frequency modulating each other. It would sound weird and out of tune, but that translates to how the timbre feels when you hear the sound in FM. I'm going to do a video about FM at some point because it's hard to talk about without like a really simple FM synth in front of you, but it's really fun to experiment with. I think that sounds really good. And that's just one of our banks, right? Woo! So I think this would be like 2 ops. Okay, so let's go back to here. If I press and hold the top row buttons when I'm in the oscillator view, I get into harmonic view. And this is another way to play around with the sound. So in sound, there's this thing called the Harmonic Series, and it's how all sounds sort of use a series of frequencies from their fundamental to create a sound timbre, like its quality. Every sound uses the same harmonic series. It's just how it addresses the different levels of harmonics and over what time it addresses them that determine how a sound sounds. That's what we have right here. So what I can do is come through here and actively adjust my harmonics. Sounds great, doesn't it? That's pretty cool. It's so ridiculous. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. I am going to actually give you some sound examples that aren't just terrible clangorous noises. I hope that this has helped demystify this thing a little bit. Also, I hope it's shown you how it works, like from the workflow perspective. I think if somebody decided they were going to make this their super focus, like, again, like, I love this thing to death, this is my front and center flagship module, then by golly, they're going to get some amazing stuff out of it. It's a Swiss Army knife in terms of what it can do, because it can do polyphony, it can do multi-temporality, it does a very interesting form of synthesis that we don't normally have access to in Eurorack. Stereo out, internal modulation, internal filter, envelope, LFOs, like it's undeniably a powerhouse, right? Like, you just have to like really dedicate yourself to it and like how it sounds, really. So that's it. I'm going to end us with one more demo here. I hope that this has given you some insight into the module. Thanks for watching. My name is Jeremy. This is Red Means Recording, and I hope you have a wonderful day.